What's going on, guys? Welcome to another video. I'm your boy NarikChase. In this video, I want to do something special. I want to talk about some books that I read by a very special author. Now, this author, world renowned. There's no way in hell if you're in media, watch movies, read books, comics, whatever, you don't know this man's name, Stephen King. And I've been getting into his books lately, learning more about him, learning more about his craft, learning more about his approach, just enjoying the worlds that he's built, the characters that he's created. Just a lot of the themes that he's touched upon is just absolutely brilliant. And in this video, I was like, you know what? I've been reading I've read a few of his books. And why not talk about it? I haven't read that many. I think it's how many books that I've read his is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13. This is comprised of novellas, short stories, and full-on novels. Now, I'm not going to count it because I started it and I hadn't finished. That fact, I didn't even got that far. But I wanted to go ahead and talk about the rest of these books nonetheless. And I kind of want to say, well, before I start, I have to say that I have heard so much about Stephen King, me being a writer myself, me being an avid reader. I've always heard about Stephen King, and it isn't until like the last few years I've actually gotten into his works. The first book I believe that I read was The Mist, because I liked the movie so much. I wanted to know more about the book, and of course the book's a bit different from the film, though they are similar in a lot of ways. But I liked the book. I actually really enjoyed it, and started getting got started a little itch. And then I read Salem's Lot. Really enjoyed that book, and it made me want to know more about his work. And ever since then, I think the next one behind that was probably The Gunslinger. And of course, if you start reading The Gunslinger, you're going to start reading the Dark Tower series, and just been kind of snowballing after that. So, without further ado, let's get to talking some shop. Okay. I've read 13 of his books altogether, and if I were to rank them, this is kind of how I would do it. I would go with, and it's not bad to best or anything like that, just based off what I've read, these all are pretty good, from like good, entertaining to like really great. I'd start with The Man in the Black Suit. Then I'd go to Cycle of the Werewolf at number 12. At 11, it'll be it'll be The Library Policeman. Then, no, let me switch that around. It'll be The Man in the Black Suit, be 13. Then 12, it'll be The Library Policeman. Then I circle back to 11 being Cycle of the Werewolf. Then 10 will be Children of the Corn. And then it goes to 9 being probably The Wolves of Kala. 8, Wizard and Glass. 7, The Drawing of the Three. 6, no. 7 would be The Gunslinger. And I should be writing this down, but let me write this down. So this is 13. And then I said this would be 12. This would be 11. This would be The Mist would be Children of the Corn would be 10. Then I have 9, Wolves of Kala. 8, Wizard and Glass. 7 would be The Mist. No. 7 would be The Drawing of the Three. 6 would be... No, I'm sorry. 7 would be The Gunslinger. 6 would be The Drawing of the Three. Then 5 would be The Mist. The Wastelands would be 4. Firestarter would be 3. Salem's Lot would be 2. And Under the Dome would be 1. Okay, so that's my ranking of these books. These are 13 books that I've read. Counting backwards from good to best. The Man in the Black Suit would be 13. The Library Policeman. I know it's 4 past midnight, but I only read that one story. So, because 4 past midnight is an anthology or a collection. I believe it's an anthology. But this is one of the stories. So, The Library Policeman will be 12. Cycle of the Werewolf will be 11. Coming in number 10, Children of the Corn. 9, Wolves of Kala. 8, Wizard and Glass. 7, The Gunslinger. 6, The Drawing of the Three. 5 would be The Mist. 4 would be The Wastelands. 3 would be Firestarter. 2 would be Salem's Lot. And 1 will be Under the Dome. That's how I'm going to check those. Now, these are all differing, but I like them all for various reasons. So one of the best things that Stephen King puts into the stories are the characters. And that's how I'd rank these. So that'd be my rankings for those. Now, I'm not going to say, if I'm going to say, hey, these are hits or misses or anything like that. Honestly, I don't see any misses. I haven't read any of these and be like, man, this is just absolute garbage. I thought all of these were pretty good. Now, I will say, were these some hit or were these some surprises? Now, Salem's Lot was a hit. I figured it was going to be really good. Firestarter was actually a surprise to me. I heard it was good, but I didn't think that type of story could be told to be that interesting and engaging, and it really was. The Gunslinger was a hit for me. Cycle of the Werewolf was okay. It was okay. It was cool. It was cool. Cool werewolf story. The Drawing of a Three, a hit. Wastelands was a hit. Wizard and Glass was a hit. No, Wizard and Glass, I was surprised because I thought it was slower paced, but the story itself was so engaging. So I was like, okay, I was pleasantly surprised how good it was. The Wolves of Kala was also a surprise as well. It was much more slower paced, less action, more character focused, more story focused, and a lot of dialogue and a lot of kind of like mundane stuff. It wasn't like action or anything like that. But I was very surprised with that one as well. Now, this one I will say is a hit and not a miss. A hit, and I was thorough. I knew Under the Dome was going to be a hit, but when I read it, it was just straight up surprise because it was so much better than I expected, and then it went in so many different directions that I didn't even think of in a concept like this, with the characters, how the environment was going to be changed, the outside world's influence, even when it came to what happens at the end. Like, all of that surprised me. It was just a really good read, surprising read. The Library Policeman was like, it was okay, it was straight, it was good. Children of the Corn, I was a bit surprised at too, because I'm not really a fan of like the movies or anything. They're decent, but I was interested in reading it. And the Mist, I thought was actually really good. I thought that was a hit too, especially since I watched the movie and I liked the movie. Then reading this, I'm trying to figure out why the hell they don't have a sequel, because I want to know what the hell, I'm not only interested in knowing what was in the Mist, because you don't really see what's in the Mist, but I would like for him to continue like a series of how the world has been affected by this mist and all the otherworldly monsters that have come from it. And the Man in the Black Suit, it wasn't like a miss or anything. It was actually straight. It was actually pretty good. It was a good character study as well. So that's, I liked them all. There were some that I thought were better than others, and some that were just complete bams. But done pretty good with that one as well. Now, I want to ask a question. What makes Stephen King so addictive? And it's definitely the character writing. He has a phenomenal insight into the characters that he creates. He gives them strengths, he gives them weaknesses, he gives them doubts, he gives them beliefs, he gives them really compelling relationships. He's able to craft characters in such a realistic way that you can't help but be engaged. Now, this could be with the good guys, it could be with the bad guys, it could be with the just absolute most villainous forces. He has an interesting way of just crafting these characters to where they just feel so memorable. That was one of the things about Salem's Lot that was really interesting too. In fact, I'm going to dive into kind of the small town horror because I love small town horror, and you're interested in all of the stuff that's going on. Salem's Lot, people are turning to vampires, and the under the dome, people are dealing with just how life is messed up under the dome conditions and stuff. When you look at also Cycle of the Werewolf, which I wouldn't say Cycle of the Werewolf is as deeply engaged with the characters as these other ones, but it's still like a good read. But even at The Mist, the insight of characters under different conditions and how ultimately, despite those conditions, the characters often are the biggest antagonists. So if you look at The Mist, people are trying to survive. There's monsters out there in the mist outside the supermarket, and what's the biggest antagonist is force that the protagonists have to deal with is this woman who's kind of becoming a cult leader because she's kind of gaining power through the fear and using religion to kind of consolidate this power. Now, if she's not while doing it because she's like a power hungry character, I don't think that's it. But she is a religious nut, so that was actually pretty cool as well. Again, Under the Dome, you have this one guy. I don't know if I forgot what it's called. It's not a politician. I guess he's a politician. I can't remember what the exact name is. He's using the dome to consolidate power in this small town as well. And then if you look at Salem's Lot, all of these people's various relationships, whether it be good or bad, while these vampires are actually taking over, it's just all the way compelling. And one of the things that I really appreciate about this type of storytelling is you can go like 1/3 of the book and just be engaged with the characters before even any of this stuff even happens. So he does a great job with the character writing. One of the things that I've been trying to learn how to do as well to make those characters believable, but not just make them believable in my eyes, but make them believable in the eyes of the people and themselves. They got to have belief strengths in their own voice. Another thing that he does really well is the small town setting. He's able to build a small town and make it just as much as a character as the people that are in it. Now, it isn't like he's detail by detail of it, but a lot of the set pieces and the environment do play a strong role in the story, and he's able to just craft it, and the way that the stories unfold with these small towns just gives so much room for just maneuvering, creativity, and deep insight. The little things he does with like the little folklores, the little sayings, how people's relationships are in these small towns, things like that. I really do appreciate it. I really am interested in like the biases of other characters as well. And the two things that he's able to really nail is anybody that's religious. He's able to nail them in dialogue and thought and character, and he's able to people that are what's the word? Not racist. They are starts with a D. I can't remember the name. It's not racism. It's something else. It's when you just don't like something for the heck of not liking it. There's really no reason. You just don't like it. He's good with those type of characters too, and how and what motivates those characters and those types of thought processes. So I really appreciate. And then he's good with the slow burn horror. Again, he does a great job of pushing all of the focus onto the characters, their insights, their relationships, and the different things that are going on. This person's cheating. This person's on drugs. This person's a thief. This person's a murderer. This person fears this other person. This person envies this person. This person likes this person. This person's a nut. This person doesn't believe in God. This person's religious. This person's on drugs. This person's a drunk. He's able to actually flesh out all of those really good characters. In fact, to preface this. There's one character in Under the Dome named Sammy who is like this druggie, but she has her little baby son named little Walter that she has. She's one of my favorite characters in the book. I hated that she died so soon, but I really liked her for even just a little bit that she did contribute to the overall story. So, but one of the things that I've learned, and I've learned from other authors, but he has a particularly good way of doing it, is establishing slow burn. Even with the little bit that I've read with the It novel, big ass book, it's like the slow burn is. I mean, it starts off strong with Pennywise, killing a little kid, but he's able to again focus more on the other characters and how life is under these certain conditions with the brother being gone, Pennywise terrorizing people, just kind of the mystery of it. But the slow burn horror, I think, works really, really well. I would love to do like a study, like an analysis video about slow burn and in small town horrors. And also another thing, and I've already touched on it, is he's able to establish relatable fears for the characters. And again, you have somebody that's drunk, you have somebody dealing with sickness or illness or something like that, somebody getting beaten up, somebody being discovered about their lifestyle choices and stuff like that. I think, like, I would love to just talk to this guy about this. I'd like to talk to him, like, when you come up with a character, is there a list of things that you don't want that character to, like you say, hey, let me pick out of 100 one vice, and I take that vice and I develop a character and put this vice and see how that vice shapes their life while also contributing other things. It's like the relatable fears thing too. I really appreciate that as well. Death, sickness, or something like that. Just like an idea would be like, say you'd have a guy that doesn't like women. Well, you find out that he hates women because, I don't know, that his ex-wife took his kids, one cheated on him and gave him something. But then you see how there's like a snowball effect of that in that character, and then you sit and you dive, you're like, okay, this character is so extreme, but you get why they're acting this way, even when they're going to this way extreme way of thought, So this, I think, was actually really, really cool on his part, as far as, relatable fears and motivations and beliefs and stuff like that. I'm going to talk about his different styles as well, because he's very versatile with how he writes. He's able to dive into psychological, science fiction, fantasy, horror. He's able to do it all. And I think a lot of it is because of how he nails down characters. And I think if you can nail down the characters, you can probably dive into any genre. But in horror, he's able to, and I think he does have a way of using people's fear to instill horror. And because of that, the weight that he is able to put into the writing makes it that much more suspenseful, makes it that much more thrilling, on edge of your seat. Kind of like, if we take the horror in The Mist. One of the absolute best things that he did was not to fully describe the creatures. That makes it much more chilling because it's left to the reader's imagination. With the sci-fi, if you look at, like Under the Dome or Firestarter or something like that, you're like, this is crazy. Especially the amount of work that had to be researched for books like that, specifically Under the Dome. Now, I'm not claiming to be like a scientist or anything, and maybe some of the mechanics in the book were a bit wonky, but it was he wrote it well enough for it to just feel very sound. So, and then even with the fantasy, the Dark Tower, which happened just pretty much is all a mixture of all of it, is I think at the core of it, he's able to do this because of the characters. It feels like the characters are the driving force. They are the pin. They are like how the Dark Tower is within the different realms and different dimensions. It's like this one straight through line between all of the. That's how I think the characters see. Because if you think about it, I don't. It's weird how to describe it. It's weird how to describe it. But he's able to structure it well. He's good with the variety. The stories themselves are both what the best and what the worst of humanity in those types of situations, how it works out and stuff. So I, but if I'm looking at if I'm looking at it from the lens of which one he does best, he's definitely straight up horror best. That's like his number one. He is on it. Well, whether it's like straight up just horror, or just psychological horror, whether it's sci-fi horror, fantasy horror, he's on horror good. And I'd say probably a close follow-up would be sci-fi fantasy. Now, remember, these are books that I've read. I haven't read every single one of them. I haven't even read a fourth of them, I don't imagine. But I'm just saying, based off what I've seen, most of the ones, probably about half of them that I've read are horror, the other half are fantasy. But the thing about the fantasy is, because it's really the Gunslinger series, but even then, he's able to capture fantastical elements that make that world and the characters just come to life. So I'm with him on that. I think his horror is his best style, though, and I'm quite sure a lot of people would agree with me as well. And my reading journey, and I'm gonna say this. This is how I started with him. I already said it, but I'm gonna say it again. My Stephen King reading journey, and this is kind of the timeline. Don't know what year it was, but it is what it is. Okay, the first book that I read of his, I believe, was The Mist, and that's because when the movie came out, I was so enthralled and so intrigued with the movie, I wanted to see how the book compared. And after I bought the book and I read it, I enjoyed the book. I liked the ending from the book better than the damn movie, but I really enjoyed the book, and that's kind of like the first push. Now, I've always heard of Stephen King. I've always heard of just how great of a writer he is. In fact, I was a huge R.L. Stine fan when I was younger, and really the only other author, because I was all into Goosebumps. I read a little bit of Christopher Pike too, but it was mostly R.L. Stine. But I've always heard of Stephen King. Then, the It movie came out, the 2-part movie came out in the 90s, and there was Salem's Lot, and there was other Carrie. So I knew of him because I seen the movies. But the first book that I actually read was The Mist. And then following up, I was like, I went back, watched Salem's Lot, because at first it was like, okay, it's an alright movie, I'm younger, and then I watch it when I'm a bit more experienced and older with a more critical eye, and I was like, you know what, that movie was actually really good. Why don't I go and read the book? So I went back, read the book, really enjoyed Salem's Lot. I thought it was really good. In fact, I liked it so much, I went back, watched the sequel, and then it had the remakes and the reboots and all of that. The remake, and then the newest movie that came out was trash, but the other one at least was decent. But I went back and I wanted to just learn all about it, reading up on his characters. And then what really propelled me more further into him was when I read The Gunslinger. And I really enjoyed the book. I thought it was really good. I really liked Roland. And then I just, I started reading more The Dark Tower, read The Drawing of the Three, The Wastelands, Wizard and Glass, what was a Kala, and then I started, and then another thing what was kind of propelling me to read more of his work is the fact that I like Dean Koontz. And I read one of Dean Koontz's books, and it because the first book I read his was Phantoms, and I was like, you know what, he's really good too. So I've been kind of going back and forth to see who has the better books. It's kind of a competition I've been doing, and honestly, just going back to Stephen King, like I said, that's kind of been what's been going on with it. And I've gone from one of the things that I've always appreciated about him, and I can say that now. Not only are the characters, because it was like, okay, the stories were good, and then it leaned more toward the characters, and then, my opinion, leaned more to a lot of it being the dialogue. And the dialogue is so well written, it's so transient. I can't remember. It translates the character's perspective so well that I was like, man, I really like the. I really love and just. I would literally listen to a conversation or read a conversation between characters. Go back to listen to it or reread it just to hear the conversation again. It's just so well written, and that's really what definitely got me. Got to me. Now, Stephen King books that should or shouldn't be adapted. And for the most part, all of these I think worked. Salem's Lot, the original one, I liked. The remake, I actually liked. It wasn't as well done as it wasn't as good as the original, but it's still like a decent movie. Not 2-part series, whatever. And then they rebooted it again like 2 years ago. Trash, didn't work. It was absolute trash. Rushed. There were swaps that didn't make any sense. It was bad. It was just bad. I haven't watched Firestarter, but I know Drew Barrymore is like one of her most famous roles, and I need to go back and watch that one. I ain't even watched the remake yet either, but I heard the remake was trash. The Gunslinger, they definitely need to make a series of this. A series by somebody who gives a damn about the source material. I watched the Dark Tower movie, thought there was some fun bits to it, but you can definitely tell if they was going to make a movie about that, they should have made the movie based on the first book, and then kept doing it like that if they were going to do it, like keep making the movies. But if you watch the movie, it felt like 4 of the books smashed into one. Completely all the stuff that happens in these books, and you just make this movie and you can't dive into it, and the movie wasn't even really about rolling like that, so that was another problem. But it's too much going on for them to just make that all into one movie. So Cycle of the Werewolf, the movie Silver Bullet, that came out back in the day. I enjoyed that movie. Drawing of the 3 gun, the Wastelands was in the Glass, was a Kala. All of that is under the banner of the Dark Tower. Definitely deserves a series, a TV series. I can easily see each of these books being like maybe like a 6-episode series, a 6-episode season for each book. I could see that. There's enough material here for that. Under the Dome, there is a series. I haven't watched it. I'm interested to now that I've read the book. The Library Policeman, even though it's a short story, I think that could be a pretty cool Stephen King book. I'm not a movie or adaptation. I don't know if there is one for it yet, but I think it would be a pretty cool one. Children of the Corn, so many adaptations. The first one is actually really, really good. I can't really, give recommendations on any of the other ones because I don't remember most of them. I mean, I watched them when I was a kid, but... And then there is The Mist. The Mist had a hit, and then it had I don't want to say a fail. You got the Mist movie that came out 2007. Great movie. Hated the ending. Great movie. And then there was The Mist, the TV show. A bit disappointing because of the changes. At least because in the movie and the book, the Mist is monsters. They're monsters from a different dimension. But in the series, it's like the Mist itself is an evil force that can do stuff, and it changes depending on the person. It's never really, the rules aren't really set in stone what it's capable of doing, the limitations and stuff like that. All you know is if you go into the Mist, you'll hallucinate, you'll die a horrible death, something crazy is going to happen to you. But even still, that show focused on the characters, even though some of the characters were freaking weird. But and then also there's the Man in the Black Suit. I heard that there was a movie about this. And I'm interested in watching it, but it seems like it's an older film, like in the 80s. I'm interested in watching it, though. I am interested in watching it. But I just wanted to, give my thoughts on these books that I've read by Stephen King, some of my favorites, and just diving into different topics and different things that Stephen King has done, and just reflecting on my experience reading his works. In the comment section below, guys, let me know your thoughts. Have you read any of Stephen King's books? Have you not read any? For those who have, which books are your favorite? Do you agree with my selection that I have on here? Also, why not go ahead and let me know what are your favorite Stephen King films or TV shows? Be sure to hit that like, share, subscribe. Oh, Lord, I hate it when I do this. Be sure to hit that like, share, subscribe, and that notification button to get the best what we got going on this channel. We'll definitely catch you guys later.